So clearly, we are all gathered here to honor and celebrate an incredible teaching milestone reached by one of Crespi's most endearing teachers, and that's Mr. John King. Mr. King has been many different things to a lot of us, and certainly has been an integral part of the development of so many Crespi grads. He's been the dean and track coach, but has left an indelible mark on most of us as an English teacher. I want to take just a few moments to share some of my fondest memories and express my appreciation for Mr. King's 40 years of service to Crespi. And I thought we'd do this in a similar way that Mr. King structures the beginning of his classes. And that's with the introduction of a few vocabulary terms. Donnybrook, knock down, drag out, brawl. For most of us, this word signifies our first experience in one of Mr. King's English classes. What we did not realize is that from this first vocab term, Mr. King would take us on a literary journey that expertly blended content with our Catholic faith, and it would stay with all of us forever. And who knew that John King's wisdom would reach national recognition when 2 years ago, Crespi alum and now sportscaster for Fox Sports, Chris McGee, paid tribute to Mr. King with a comment during the CIF football championship game between Servite and Mission Viejo. The game was all but over, and Servite substitutes in an underclassman whose name happened to be John King. Chris made a comment that only a Crespi grad could appreciate. John King enters the Donnybrook. It is moments like this that remind us of the enduring impact a teacher, well-versed in his craft like Mr. King, can have on a student's life. Commitment. To be responsible for or loyal to something, an obligation or responsibility. Few words can best describe both Mr. King's dedication to his faith and to his profession. Mr. King goes to Mass daily and is the first person to arrive on campus. He opens up the school building before most of us are awake and makes that coveted first pot of coffee of the day. While this seems like a small task, Mr. King carries on acts of humility and servitude throughout the course of the day. For those of us who are fortunate to work with him, we look forward to his words of wisdom during faculty meetings and reminders of our commitment to teaching students holistically in the Carmelite tradition of community, service, and prayer. Hero, a remarkably brave person, somebody admired. For all the current and past teachers at Crespi, Mr. King represents the model teacher that we all aspire to be. I consider myself fortunate to have him as a teacher and now as a colleague. Leadership is defined by an individual's actions, how he treats others, and ethics. And all of us know that these are traits that we all admire in Mr. King and often seek to emulate. So congratulations, Mr. King, on your 40 years as an educator, mentor, and leader at Crespi Carmelite High School. You are a true gentleman and scholar, and we look forward to many more years of your explication of literature and inspiring young men to read.
I'm not sure if I'm the right guy after to talk about John King. I never had him as a teacher when I was at Crespi and stuff. Then most of the time trying to avoid him because he's also the dean of discipline, I think, during that time, periods like that. So he's a person you really want to see because he knows there's going to be problems. And I have to admit, today Copa, I was 15 minutes late, so it was Saturday detention still at 8 o'clock. Anyway, Jonathan nailed it. He gave the right definitions about the right guy. 40 years. That's unbelievable. He started when I started at Crespi. So that's a long time, but I left him by 4 years, and I come in once in a while just to pick up a reporter, tell bad stories, things like that. He's been dedicated teaching at Crespi for 40 years. Being a dedicated guy for all his life. He is like the epitome when you read those things they talk about the Crespi man, all those virtues. He's the living virtue. He's the guy is the benchmark. He's the person we should be looking at and saying, I should be more like John King. Jonathan mentioned what I'm quoting here is that it's that Christian attitude, it's that always trying to help the other guy and just trying to help fellow teachers, mentor them as well. That makes him such a great guy. Now, knowing John doesn't like the spotlight on himself, and we put this about the 4th, 5th honor we've given him the last 2 years, which is a great thing. Also, just like to digress a bit and say, there's a lot of teachers in this room right now, right? So, you can do the same thing John King can do. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, something like that. In ways, responsibility, but the benefit from that, from doing that, turning Crespi boys into Crespi men, come back later on and say, thank you, you changed my life. In my case, it was Pat Brown. When we honor her, I'll tell you my Pat Brown story. So, as teachers have an effect on your life. It's a good thing to honor them, but also want to support other teachers and then parents, and there's no kids in here, so that these are the people that shape their lives. So it's kind of a little roundabout thing, but thank you, John, for your friendship and fellowship.
You cannot see the fruit of a day's work. It is invisible, and it remains so, maybe for 20 years. Celebrating Mr. King's 40th year here at Crespi Carmelite High School, that means he's had the opportunity to see 2 full harvests. Any of you who have had the opportunity to be in his class have probably seen the fruits of his labor as they've revealed themselves in your own lives. As a 7-year member of the Crespi English Department, I can tell you that his teaching is not restricted to his own classroom. Mr. King has mentored, inspired, and taught myriad other co-workers, not just the members of the English department. And many of those other co-workers speak as glowingly about him as his former students do. So Mr. King, with your impeccable handwriting on minutes from department meetings and the notes on classroom observations, you provide us, the members of the English department, with the direction we need to continue to serve the Crespi community. And so, on behalf of the English department, please accept this token of our appreciation and admiration.
First of all, I would very much like to meet the teacher that Jonathan was taught. There's some of the old timers that don't quite recognize all these glowing comments. So I thank Jonathan very much. I don't think I need it. Don't be intimidated. I want to get some thanks out there, certainly in order. Deepest gratitude to the good Lord and to the Carmelite Fathers, the opportunity and privilege of teaching at Crespi. Special thanks to Father Tom and Father Paul, the Board of Directors, Mr. Schild, Mr. Thornton, Mr. Banducci, Mr. Kadama, Mrs. Rezzo, Mr. Nordike, Mr. Ruady, and the Development Office, Mrs. Larkins, the Counseling Department, and the parents for their leadership in your eyes. I told you on a Friday afternoon after a full week of school, I would be doing wheelies out of the parking lot. I understand. How long have I been at Crespi? It's about 5 this morning. Okay. Recollections. Well, I remember spitting out my dental partial while getting the attention of a particularly lively sophomore class. I remember being acclaimed most notable man on campus by spontaneous write-in votes. Now the writing was done on bathroom walls, with spray paint and pen. When, as dean, most of you don't remember this, a few might, when I sent about 60% of the student body home for hair code violations, hiring Mrs. Paige O'Connor as attendant secretary. Coaching the shot put, Harry O'Brien style. Balance forward over the knee, back straight, right across the ring, pivot, hip forward, chest out, elbow up, explosive release, follow through. I know you're all interested in that. Conducting 4-hour detention every Saturday for 3 years. And then, after that, Saturday track practices. In the spring, it went from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Coaches were here all day. Watching Becker, Butler, Friedman, Liddell, Lenz, and Mack for the ball team. Special honor. Being part of an English department with Alan Swaney, Gabriel Griffin, Tom Chibnall, and Philip Griffin. A real privilege. Last Saturday, joining Crespi young men and faculty at the Archdiocesan Mass for the Unborn at the Cathedral. There's nothing quite like being in front of 20 or 30 Southern California adolescent males for an hour and a half, 3 or 4 times a day, in an enclosed room. Okay, maybe everyone can identify with that. It helps one to stay firmly anchored in reality. Whether one has been teaching for 4 or 40 years, his or her faults, idiosyncrasies, and weaknesses will be noted and tested. An English teacher soon learns that on the list of the 100 things that most matter to SoCal teenage males, the greats of English lit don't rank at the top. Nor do they rank in literature. Or, as a matter of fact, are they at the end of the list? They're not even on the chart. So every year it's a real delight as Chaucer or Shakespeare or Milton or Conrad is being read and analyzed. When eyes begin to focus, ears perk up, slouched posture straightens, and a young man raises his hand and asks an insightful question. Schools are often judged by the number of graduates they send to college. Crespi's record here is excellent. Crespi's goals go beyond college. It seeks to be instrumental in producing good men, good husbands and fathers, good citizens, and good priests. These are the very foundation of a healthy society. Crespi is strong precisely because of its religious identity. As it remains true to its mission, the following benefits result. Students are recognized as being made in the image and likeness of God and destined for Him. We are all understood to be under the care of an all-loving and merciful God who holds us accountable for our behavior and our treatment of others. The school teaches and models Christ's parable of the talents. That is, our gifts are ultimately for others. The world should be a better place for our having been in. The school recognizes parents as the primary education we can offer. It is well worth our prayers and support. God bless you and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. King, for touching so many of us, so many of our lives. Thank you very much for coming out to this wonderful